Alright guys, I'm here with Austin Lawrence. He's just going to tell you a little about how I met Oz. Found him on Facebook actually, and I was asked to add him by one of my good friends, Ben Gray. We were talking about good courses we've been on in the past, and Austin actually runs a fantastic, was it Back on Track?
Back on Track seminars, yeah.
Back on Track seminar, and it got chatting to Oz on Facebook, and we've met up recently. Oz lives down in Oxford, and so if most of you here tonight to find out about inflammation. And after many discussion about why our joints hurt and some stuff we've covered this evening, I thought I'd actually get Oz to just tell us a little bit about inflammation, what his knowledge of it is, and strategies you've used in the past to get clients to feel less of the effects of inflammation from either back pain or their diet. So fire away, Oz.
The first thing is most people think that inflammation is universally bad. Acute inflammation is actually vital to our survival. It's not a bad thing, it's part of the healing process, so we don't want to reduce that. But chronic low-grade inflammation, that's a problem, and pretty much every degenerative disease has an inflammatory component from diabetes, heart disease to cancer. So it's something you want to kind of get rid of. But there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself. You don't have to pop something like ibuprofen or diclofenac. The stuff you can do dietary, which is really, really simple to implement.
So that's the sort of first response a lot of people have. When they get inflammation or back pain or joint pain. Our sort of society goes, oh, you've got a sore back, pop an ibuprofen. What actually happens when they do that? I'm quite interested myself.
The thing is, it's funny because you see the adverts of ibuprofen and Nurofen. It's like hit pain where it hurts, and it's targeted, and it's just complete BS because you can't target a headache type pain. The tablet hasn't got like some innate intelligence that goes, I'm only going to work on the pain receptors in the brain or the back. Drugs work systemically, and that's why you get side effects. So something like your popular drugs, like ibuprofen, is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and the way it works is inhibiting part of the inflammation pathway. They're known as COX-2 inhibitors, and it's an enzyme called cyclooxygenase. And there's nothing wrong with inhibiting that because that will reduce pain. But what it does, because they work systemically, and doesn't just target that enzyme, it'll also target another enzyme called COX-1 or cyclooxygenase 1. But that enzyme's involved in the formation of stomach lining, so that's why you get things like gastric ulcers or wearing away of the stomach lining by taking too many of the NSAID drugs or the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So that's why you get the horrible gastric side effects with them long term.
Actually, I've heard of a lot of footballers who, when I've talked to them who are like after pro careers because they've been on because they are very inflammatory. Athletes are chronically inflamed, but I've heard of footballers taking anti-inflammatories just to be able to get on the pitch. And I've even heard people taking anti-inflammatories just to be able to do a run, run or a marathon. It's crazy. So what would be your first step into managing someone's inflammation?
First thing is get them hydrated. Often joint pain will be your joint will be saying, hey, look, I need hydration. So something like a bone cell is immersed in sort of calcium matrix, but cartilage cells are immersed in a sort of fluid matrix. And we're told to warm up and do joint mobilizations, and that gets synovial fluid flowing, but it doesn't.
So the audience here tonight won't really be able to appreciate what's synovial fluid. So it's like, what is that in terms of how would you best describe that?
So that's the fluid the joint produces to lubricate it, but it's not the most efficient way. It's a very inefficient way of the joint surfaces getting their fluid supply. They get it from the blood. If you're chronically dehydrated, your blood's going to be more sort of viscous. And then if you think how small the veins and arteries entering and leaving a bone are, if you got blood which is clumping together because you're dehydrated, it's all viscous, it's not going to flow properly. And it's not going to get the water's not going to reach the cartilage.
So you're going to get dehydrated. It's like getting a joint.
Yeah. And what happened is during normal wear and tear, the amount of sort of cartilage cells that are sloughed off through wear, in a perfect world, they then regenerate at a similar rate, or as close to. But when you're dehydrated, that rate of wear and tear is a lot more than the rate of repair. So that's why cartilage cells can wear away quickly if you're dehydrated.
Right, so your first point there, dehydration. So if someone's got real bad sort of chronic pain in their knees, their back, or their hips, is dehydration. So let's go to cramming 2 more points. So 2 more, surefire ways to help yourself with that one.
Wheat's a big one. Gluten is just horrible stuff. You go back, sort of, wheat's one of the sort of family of grasses, and it sort of appeared around several thousand years ago. And back then, our ancestors, they would have had a wheat strain which had been very low in gluten. It had been rubbish for bacon. They had it more of like a porridge or a soup concoction. But over millennia, it's been crossbred with other plants. Probably some of that natural, some of that with farmers doing it themselves, and the gluten content's gone up. It's gluten wreaks havoc on the gut lining, can cause leaky gut, autoimmune problems. But even in the last 50 years, the bread that your grandparents ate, or the wheat that they would have eaten, is a lot different to what we eat today. We've got ridiculously high gluten content in wheat, and causes lots of problems. It even causes, have you heard of Hashimoto's thyroiditis? It's an autoimmune thyroid problem. Most hypothyroid conditions are autoimmune, and gluten's been massively implicated in that.
Yeah, actually, what we do with a lot of our clients who come and say they've got a thyroid problem is, get off gluten, get off, all the
Yeah.
things that are going to really interfere with the thyroid. Yeah.
Because if you don't take away the gluten first, then all your nutrients you're going to add in to support thyroid function, they're not really going to do much. You've got to take out the cause. But it also really buggers up joints as well. It's
Didn't know that. I've never heard that. That's phenomenal. So hydration, remove gluten. Obviously, I can go through what gluten you're gonna find gluten in. And what would be your third one then?
um, the thing is, we say what food you remove, and these things aren't really foods, are they? They're kind of food-like stuff that's kind of added to our diet. Sugar's another pro-inflammatory. I mean, high blood sugar levels, they cause neuropathies and diabetics. Your average person isn't going to have massively high blood sugar levels. Well, they might do if they're pre-diabetic, but it just causes lots of inflammation. And then things like neurotoxins, like MSG and aspartame, how they're ever allowed in the food supply is just mind-boggling. But you're not going to manage pain if you're getting substances which are neurotoxic. And what they do is they can cross the blood-brain barrier in seconds, and they overexcite brain neurons until the point where they just kind of die, basically.
Really?
And there are a lot of sort of nervous system disorders which are kind of vague, are caused by these. Some people just don't quite feel right, or even sort of MS type symptoms are just neurotoxins like MSG and aspartame. They work on the same receptor, the glutamate receptor, but that goes throughout the whole body, heart, brain, nervous system, GI tract. So that's why, if you have a Chinese meal full of MSG, you don't just feel like headachy and hungover the next day. You notice that your whole sort of body aches, your whole GI system just feels wrecked.
I actually haven't had a Chinese in about a long time. But I do actually notice if I do have something quite toxic. I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat. But so if clients are eating a lot of these things and they take them out, are they going to get the effect quite quickly?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to feel crap for a few days because your body's craving this stuff and you're detoxing. So that's inevitable. Some of it's you're just craving it as well. You're going cold turkey. So you're going to feel rubbish. But give it a 4 or 5 days, and then you realise how well you do function and what it feels like to be normal.
What would be your, I think I often use the word, therapeutic dosages of things. I think something like what I liken it to is someone having a real bad sort of, sad moment. that you don't just give them a small hug, you give them a massive hug. So what sort of nutrients would say is like giving your body a real good, nutritional hug to help them get back on track with, regards to like inflammation?
First one, water. We're all dehydrated, so I recommend about a litre for every 50 pound you weigh. So for some people, I'm not that big, but I'm 170 pounds, so that's going to be over 3 litres a day. And then make sure it's filtered. I'm lucky I don't have to have a filter for fluoride because the area I live in the water's not fluoridated, so I can get away to an extent with a Brita filter. Then I'll add Himalayan pink crystal salt in it, or just Celtic sea salt. Add some vitamins and minerals back in because it's going to be lacking. So that's the first thing. But just doing that, pain goes away massively. And then obviously you remove stuff, but then you can also add stuff back in. First, I like to add in, I said before, previous interview, I like to do the sort of minimal intervention to get the maximum effect. So I'm always going to do everything I can with food, so cutting out pro-inflammatory food or food-like substances, then adding in better quality foods like net caught or line caught fish, so you don't want farm fish. Steak that's, from cattle fed on grass, eggs which from hens which are allowed to roam free. And then supplement-wise, I'll add a greens drink. To be honest, I don't know why exactly people feel better on it. It might be because it alkalizes the body. It might be because a lot of the nutrients in there bind to heavy metals and bind them out. It might be multiple reasons. It might be just because it's chock full of vitamins and minerals which we're lacking. So greens drink, I used to sort of think, well, just people are lazy and they don't eat enough veg, but when you're getting like several servings of fruit and veg in one hit and it's really convenient and cheap, then it's a no-brainer to take it. Then the next one would be magnesium. What you find is when your muscles, they need magnesium to contract and relax, and when people have got muscle spasms or their muscles are hypertonic because they're muscle guarding through injury, or some muscles are just stuck and, as I said, hypertonic, you deplete magnesium really quick, so that muscle can't then relax. Similar thing happens with people with Raynaud's disease. They're told to take aspirin or other such drugs. A lot of the time, your blood vessels, they go into spasm because they can't relax properly. I used to suffer. Yes, because everything's fortified with calcium because there's a big sort of con over that you need shed loads. So we're deficient anyway because it's just not generally in the soil and it's not in the food and not in us. And then we over supplement with magnesium or calcium and calcium fortified foods, but they compete on the same receptor site. So if you're taking magnesium with any calcium containing foods or fortified foods, then the calcium is going to win that battle because they're on the same receptor site and calcium is going to be absorbed. And magnesium is just the one we tend to kind of become deficient in first and depleted through sweat and etc.
Yeah, right, awesome. We've got so much info there. Like I said, I'm still learning a lot about this stuff. You've got this incredible grasp of it. I'm looking forward to you coming up in February. So how can, because obviously I think a lot of people watching now are going to be quite wowed by what you know about this stuff. So what would, in regards to them sort of getting in touch with you, what would you say? Just add you on Facebook?
Yeah, add me on Facebook. I'm always putting free articles out on there on back pain and such related stuff.
There's a lot of stuff for free, and it's incredible. If you're looking to coach yourself, I'm a firm believer in learning, to be an expert in your own body. Read some of Oz's stuff. It's really, really good. It's very well written, and it's easy to understand. So awesome. Thanks for doing that tonight, Oz, as well. Brilliant.
It's my pleasure.